can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen, bud, he's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from a thread? Take a look overhead. Hey there goes the Spider-Man. In the chill of night.
Okay, let's start this review, guys. Spider-Man Homecoming is finally here, guys, and I remember when they first announced this movie last year, and man, time flies by, man. But anyway, like you've seen in my intro, you can tell that I'm a humongous Spider-Man fan, and I am. Of course, you see from my background, I have everything set up for this review, because Spider-Man is a special character for me and many others because I grew up with this character. I relate so much to Peter Parker. I had to deal with responsibility, school, girlfriend, so many other things. I relate so much to Spider-Man that I am like the real life Peter Parker / Spider-Man. And I watched so many incarnations of Spider-Man when it comes to television and movies, like the 60s TV series, the 70s TV series, the 80s TV series, the 90s cartoon, the MTV series, Spectacular Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, and I can't wait for the new cartoon to come out soon so I can watch that. And the movies, of course, I re-reviewed these movies on my channel leading up to this film, Homecoming, because it makes perfect sense so I can update my thoughts on all these films. And yes, like I said, I do enjoy the first film, love Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3. Yeah, and I don't care what anybody else says, I love the Amazing Spider-Man films, but I will admit that those movies could have been improved, but anyways, it's good that we finally get to see Spider-Man back at Marvel Studios where he belongs, and his introduction to Civil War, my god, that was one of the best parts of that movie. Spider-Man is Captain America Civil War, Tom Holland, and that film made me excited for this movie and this fresh new take on my favorite comic book character of all time, and let's get into Homecoming. Spider-Man Homecoming is the sixth big screen adaptation of Spider-Man, the second film reboot, and is the first Spider-Man movie where Spider-Man actually crosses over with characters like Iron Man and so many other Avengers characters. And in this movie, Peter Parker, high school nerdy boy that we all know, bit by a radioactive spider, great power comes great responsibility, Uncle Ben's death, all that is already covered, so we didn't really need to see all that again. I thought that in this movie is a fresh new take. Okay, Peter Parker's already Spider-Man, already got his powers and his suit. All this already taken care of, and in this movie, Homecoming Dance is coming up, and you try to ask Liz Allen onto the date for Homecoming, and while that's all happening, there's a new villain in town, the Vulture, played by Michael Keaton, and that's pretty much the simple plot of this movie. As excited as I was for this movie, I will have to admit I had a lot of expectations coming to this film. Will Sony interfere with this movie? Will it be this Disney Channel version of Spider-Man? Will Tony Stark be the front and center of this movie? Will it hurt the MCU? Will it affect the MCU? Will Spider-Man not be no longer a part of the MCU after the second film? Will it be this, and that? I had a lot of expectations coming to this movie. But you know what? All my expectations were pretty much wrong with this movie because Spider-Man Homecoming has to be the best Spider-Man movie since Spider-Man 2. No joke. Spider-Man Homecoming is a fantastic Spider-Man movie and is a breath of fresh air for people who didn't like the Amazing Spider-Man movies or for people who hate Spider-Man 3 like myself. Like I said, I love the Amazing Spider-Man movies, but this movie blew those movies out of the water because Spider-Man Homecoming is the Spider-Man movie I've been waiting for. And I know I said the same thing about The Amazing Spider-Man, saying how this is what the first movie should have been, but when it comes to like a reboot, this is the Spider-Man reboot I was actually looking for. And with The Amazing Spider-Man, and since that movie I know is owned by Sony, I always wanted to see Spider-Man cross over with the Avengers since both movies came out in 2012. And now since Spider-Man is part of the MCU, since he's now part of the Avengers Marvel Cinematic Universe, that is now reality. And it's so great to see Spider-Man just swinging along in New York City, just so bright and colorful, just everything's all good. This movie does feels like it took inspiration from John Hughes movies from the 80s. And this movie does feel like a teenage coming-of-age movie with a superhero in it. That's what I love about this character, Spider-Man. That it needs to have a coming-of-age story, because Spider-Man is a teenager, and he's the same age as me, because I am a teenager myself. And I just love how they took that inspiration, and how I love how the high school is very diverse with different colors and different faces from different cultural backgrounds. I love that aspect about the high school in this movie, because I don't really have that, because I go to a predominantly black high school, since I live in a predominantly black neighborhood. But seeing that, I know from other experiences, like went to a very mixed cultural elementary school, like a bunch of whites, Asian, Hispanics, and of course blacks. Elementary school, I lived in Atlanta for a few months. So with that, I think it's pretty accurate how they portrayed that in this movie. Like, I think that Marvel did a very good job with that. Tom Holland as Spider-Man / Peter Parker, I mean, this is obvious. He is fantastic in this movie. He nailed down Peter Parker / Spider-Man for both sides. He nailed the nerdiness of Peter Parker, and he just nails the cockiness and he does the smart quips of Spider-Man. He nails both characters. He is born to play Spider-Man. I love Andrew Garfield. I do, but Andrew Garfield was a great Spider-Man. He was a good Peter Parker. While Tobey Maguire, he was a great Peter Parker. He was an okay Spider-Man, because you know how I feel about the Raimi films. But anyways, Tom Holland in this movie, every scene I see him in, I'm like, oh, that's Peter Parker. Oh, that's Spider-Man. Same thing with Andrew Garfield. Like, oh, that's Spider-Man. And there's a scene in this movie where I just realized I relate to Peter Parker more than I think I do. Because there was a scene in this movie where I was looking at my mom, because she saw this movie with me last night at a 7 o'clock showing in IMAX. By the way, my theater was packed last night. It was crazy packed last night. It felt like when people saw the first Spider-Man movie at theaters, the 2002 film, how crazy packed it was for most people who saw that movie at theaters in 2002. But anyways, there was a scene in this movie where when it happened, I looked at my mom and I was like, that is me right there. That is me right there. I'm just like, man, I'm just like Peter Parker too. That is crazy. Another thing that I really do love about the character of Spider-Man that relates to me so much, that he makes a lot of mistakes. And in this movie, Peter Parker / Spider-Man makes a lot of mistakes. Like, he's not perfect. He sometimes screws up on things, which causes him to be considered to be irresponsible. That's where the great power, great responsibility part needs to come in for him to show that he can be a man, because that's what Spider-Man / Peter Parker tried to prove himself in this movie, not just trying to be this typical teenage boy. He's trying to prove himself that he could be a man in this movie. That's what I really loved about this film, and that's what I really loved about the character of Peter Parker / Spider-Man. One of the things in this movie that I was really concerned about, will Tony Stark be in this movie for too much? Will it be Iron Man 4? Will it be Spider-Boy? Or will it be Iron Man featuring Spider-Man? Will it be that? Nope. That's not the case in this movie, because this is a Spider-Man movie. While Tony Stark is only in the movie for like 5 minutes total, because he's not even in the movie for that much. You see him in one scene, then you'll see him in the other scenes, and yeah, you pretty much get the picture. So, for those of you who are concerned about Tony Stark being in this movie for too much, or you see him in a lot of the trailer that you think he might be in the movie a lot, that is no longer the case. Also, I do love Ned in this movie, Peter Parker's best friend. He was hilarious. Any scene that I see him in, it got me dying laughing, because this guy was so funny and so hilarious that he reminds me of someone that you probably know from high school or whatever, or one of your friends from high school. He was so funny too. Also too, I was surprised that I didn't mind Zendaya in this movie. She was very quirky, weird, and awkward. Her character hated Peter Parker, but at the same time, she don't hate Peter Parker. Her character was just weird. That's how I can describe her character. She's a weird, quirky character, and this is coming from a guy who's not really a big fan of Zendaya. Like, I'm not a really big Zendaya person, so yeah. And also, too, there was a line that Zendaya's character says in this movie that made me go, whoa! I did not expect for her to say that. Yeah, that was so random and out of the blue. Another thing that I was really hesitant about going into this movie to how what Michael Keaton would do as the Vulture, since for two reasons. Not many people were really feeling the villains in the Spider-Man movies after Spider-Man 2, and also to the MCU when it comes to their villains, it's definitely their problems that they have, like the villains are the weakest part of the MCU films. But Michael Keaton as the Vulture has to be my favorite MCU villain since Loki. Actually, no, he's my second favorite MCU villain. The Vulture in this movie I thought was very great. Michael Keaton did a fantastic job. And he has a thing for playing winged creatures or something like that. Like he was Batman, he was Birdman, and he's Birdman again because basically he's the Vulture. So yeah, Michael Keaton just loved playing winged characters, and also, too, I bought his motivation. His motivation was very clear and understandable, and I won't get into that. But this movie, I thought that it had so many surprises, because I stayed away from spoilers on the internet for a while, especially on social media and stuff, too. That there was sort of like a twist that I was not expecting at all in this movie, which I was like, oh, I didn't see that coming. I did not see that coming. This movie has plenty of fun scenes too, like the monument scene. That scene was very entertaining, especially from a guy who lives in DC. I was like, oh crap, Spider-Man's in DC? Wow. Everybody in the theater said, DC's in the house, Spider-Man's in DC, yeah. That theater went nuts when that happened. I also did like Marissa Tomei as Aunt May, or many people like to call her Aunt MILF, because there's a lot of perverts on the internet. But yeah, like in every Spider-Man movie, every time they reboot it, the younger Peter Parker gets, the younger and hotter Aunt May gets. It's kind of weird when you think about it, though. However, I do have one issue with this movie. One is a spoiler, but the other one isn't really a spoiler. Flash Thompson. Now, they changed the ethnicity of Flash Thompson in this movie. Now, at first, when I first heard that, I wasn't really feeling that, but while I watched this movie, when I first see Flash Thompson, I was like, oh, I don't buy this guy bullying Peter Parker. But then later on in the movie, I got used to it. But then the second problem I do have with this movie, that when it comes to the end of this movie, I'm not going to say what it was, but when it happened, I'm just like, what? No, just no. Overall, other than those two problems I have with this movie, I love Spider-Man Homecoming. It's definitely one of the best movies I've seen this year. And it's definitely one of the best films in the MCU. And it's without a doubt my favorite Spider-Man movie is Spider-Man 2. And it is one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. And this is a Spider-Man movie, other than the Amazing Spider-Man films, where I actually relate a lot to Spider-Man and Peter Parker as a character. And you know what? I am proud to say I am a webhead, I am a Spider-Man fan, and I will always be a Spidey fan for life. I'm gonna give Spider-Man Homecoming a well-deserved A. Finally, we have a Spider-Man movie that nobody have any mixed bag opinions on, no divisive or love or hate relationship with a Spider-Man movie ever again. Maybe. But yeah, 13 years, and we finally have a Spider-Man movie where everybody legitimately likes it, so that's good. I cannot wait to see more Spider-Man in the MCU. I cannot wait to see more of Tom Holland as Spider-Man, and I feel that they're off to a great start. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you've seen Spider-Man Homecoming, let me know what you think of the movie in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, if you are new to my channel and you like this video, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time, and remember, with great power comes great responsibility.